This is my YouTube show, Marking Out with MVP Dwayne Swayze. And Dwayne is, as you can see, a huge fan of pro wrestling. So we came up with this idea that he's always asking, we'd be in the studio, like we make music together and whatnot. And he'd be like, hey, tell me about that time. Hey, what really happened, So our show, he asks questions and I answer them and, give the insight. But he came up with this thing, these hot take questions. And, it's no right or wrong, but in your opinion, what do you think about this and why?
All right.
So we got a few questions for you.
Okay.
All right.
Let's do it. All right. ECW.
These loaded questions?
No, not at all.
We don't do that on this show. All right. ECW changed wrestling more through presentation, attitude, and authenticity than through actual in-ring technique.
Okay. My thought on that?
Your thought on that?
It's weird. I think that's partially true because their in-ring technique was different. It wasn't necessarily technical, but at times it was. You had Dean Malenko there, you had Eddie there, but they're really known for their hardcore and the way it almost, that's why they succeeded, because they were different. It was different when people were seen. And I think that kind of, I don't know if FMW came first or ECW came first, but that is hardcore, that hardcore, there was a definite place for it, and people ate it up, so I'm going to say that it was almost, maybe the presentation, the way they did it, but man, it was unlike anything we'd ever seen. I love it.
You had operators in that ring operating at the highest level.
Oh yeah,
so sure. Just to try to just say, the packaging was crazy.
Yeah.
But like you said, like people that were in the ring.
Yeah, man, they were all drugged up, man. They were like, just hit me, and they didn't feel nothing. Yeah. So it was all right. It was so good. No, but
I think it was actual in-ring technique.
Damn. Tell them why, Teddy. Tell them why.
Well, I'll tell you why, because with ECW, you know what I mean, it was real. You know what I mean? And guys had to really work their butts off, to, get people in, sell tickets, get people in the seats. So you have to be real. You got to make people believe, and ECW made you believe.
So I'm trying to separate in-ring technique from attitude and presentation, because in my mind, they're very similar. ECW, I think what you're saying, what that translates to me is that the wrestling wasn't necessarily the best or
as important as the presentation with the, oh my God, and the whole.
It was a very heavily edited show.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because when he asked the question, the first thing I said was, so you're going to say Rob Van Dam wasn't in there killing it technically? You're going to say that these guys in there weren't on that level killing it technically? So some people say, oh yeah, it was all the sizzle of the package. But no, it was actually what was being presented with the sizzle. If you weren't in there killing it, then all of the presentation wouldn't matter.
I think it was, I feel like it was both. I feel like all the above, and it's hard in my mind to really separate unless you are specifically just talking about the level of wrestling by wrestling standards, in which case, for sure, there was, I've said this a lot of times, I didn't know if New Jack even knew how to do a headlock, but he didn't have to. I mean, that wasn't part of that part of the show wasn't about headlocks, right? It was about bringing everything in and the kitchen sink and everybody beating each other up with the fans had brought that night. But I do think that he could do a headlock, but I really, at the time, it was just, that was the same point though. It wasn't about the wrestling, but
Subscribe to Marking Out with MVP and Dwayne Swayze. New episodes drop every Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern.